Hello and welcome back to Parc Fermé Parlay with Kieran Downey. Sprint race has just finished and that was a thrilling 19 laps. My God, that was brilliant. It was this is why I love a sprint, when it's that just action for 19 or 20 laps, however long they are, depending on the course circuit. But it was just overtake on overtake and battle, and it was just start to finish action, thrilling, loved every second of it, has made me so excited for the Grand Prix tomorrow. My predictions that I made, throw them in the bin. Throw them in the bin. I've actually got my graphic to post about the sort of predictions that I had to Instagram, and I was just getting it ready and I was like, I don't think this is close to what is going to happen. But let's dive right in with everything that happened in these 19 laps in Austin. So we'll kick things off with Alex Albon. He had to start in the pit lane because Williams broke Parc Fermé to change the rear wing specification of the rear wing and change his suspension setup. So he was straight to the pits for a start, and he finished 17th. Which I'm not surprised. There was no way that Williams was going to climb up the pack in only 19 laps. Maybe if there had been full race distance and he could, do a bit of a different pit strategy and all that kind of stuff, and the difference on tyres and everything. But it's literally a shootout. So unfortunate for Alex Albon. And then the sprint started. And, first of all, brilliant start from Lando Norris to gain 2 positions in the first sort of couple of corners. And I thought, right, okay, here we go. The race pace might be, where it's at. And Verstappen couldn't really shake him. Verstappen couldn't really shake him out of the DRS. And I think Lando just took a bit too much of it out of his tyres. He was told at one point that Verstappen might be taking more out of his rear tyres than the McLaren, but he just couldn't get close to him. And he just slowly, as soon as Max managed to shake him out of to break the DRS range, Norris just couldn't get back to Verstappen. Just couldn't really get back up and just really began to struggle out there. More on that in a second. We had a beautiful... As I said, this sprint race was filled with fantastic fights. Beautiful fight between Russell and Leclerc for P3. Russell managing to sort of retain the position. Then we had a brilliant fight between both the Ferrari boys. And as much as it raises my heart rate and makes me feel a little bit nervous, it's thrilling to watch those two fight because they do kind of understand each other. I think it's very similar as to when you see fights happening between Leclerc and Verstappen. They know how to battle it out on track, and it's just, I just love watching those fights. But as I said, it does raise my heart temperature and makes me really nervous. Sainz then did manage to get through on Leclerc. Leclerc wasn't really keen to give it up, as quite right. And then it was just kind of served business as usual for a while. Russell had a lovely little fight with Lando, but just took far too much out of his tyres and just opened it up to let both Ferrari drivers through within 2 laps. At the exact same position coming, I think it was turn 12, both of them just managed to get coming in that back DRS straight, both of them just managed to get a jump done on Russell. Russell then just kind of fell back. He just couldn't. He was complaining, I think, his front left tyre. He was like, I think the words he used were, my tyre's toast. Which Martin Brundle made a really good point. Interesting that it was his front left. It's an anti-clockwise circuit, so you would think your right would take more of the brunt, just because naturally there's more corners going towards the right. But anyway, just couldn't really. And at one point, I actually thought Hamilton would get the jump on him, and Hamilton just never really got into the fight, did he? At one point, I thought maybe he's going to manage his tyres a little bit, let the guys in front of him just sort of battle it out, take their tyres out, and then he can start ramping it up towards the end, but just never really got into the fight, which was a bit of a strange one. Not quite too sure what was going on there. But yeah, shame for Russell, just couldn't really, because everything was lining up great for him, starting P2 and going into that turn 1. I would probably want to be P2, because if you can get the jump, go round the outside of turn 1, and that puts you in the best spot going into turn 2, because you've got the inside ramping up the speed. Going right down the hill and round the corner, that's the preferred line, to be on the inside rather than the outside. So it's a shame that he just couldn't keep up, to be honest. And yeah, it's a shame for him. We got another fantastic, I just can't with the fights that were happening. Fantastic fight between Alonso and Lawson that just opened it up for Ocon just to come in and gain 2 places. I think Alonso got the jump. Lawson kind of fought back. Alonso was complaining, calling them AlphaTauri, you know, this AlphaTauri's an idiot, or whatever it was he said. But they're a little bit of a scrap. Just great for Ocon, managed to jump up 2 places, but all for nothing because he finished 15th. It's one of those back marker fights that we all love. It's just a shame they're not for anything. Oscar Piastri, who had a very poor sprint qualifying session. He had his lap time deleted and was knocked out in SQ1. Did a brilliant job managing to climb up the field. He did get a 5-second penalty, which was weird because he got a 5-second penalty for forcing Gasly off the track. But when I looked at the onboards, I don't know about you, but when I looked at the onboards, I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I didn't think it was worthy of a penalty. And I don't know, maybe from different angles, maybe from a different angle it looked the way the stewards have obviously deemed it to look, which is why he's been given a penalty. But I just didn't think it was that bad. Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. So, a bit of a strange one from Piastri. He then got into a little battle with Tsunoda. Tsunoda left the track, retained the position. He was then told by the team, give the position back. And he fought back and said, no, he pushed me off the track. I'm not giving it back. And in that circumstance, it's usually the race director saying, sort this out amongst yourselves before I have to get the stewards involved. Tsunoda said, no, absolutely not. The stewards got involved. He went under investigation, no further action. What was nice to see was that Yuki was fairly level-headed in it. And we know that Yuki's a bit of a firecracker. And he just had a bit of a more chilled reaction to it, which is nice to see. It's almost like he's growing as a driver, and I really love that. And I think Martin Brundle had kind of said, you know, he's making statements right now of saying if there is a Red Bull seat up for grabs, I don't think that team is 100% set on keeping Checo, and I do think they are auditioning Lawson right now. They are auditioning Yuki Tsunoda right now to maybe take his place. He's saying, well, if there is a spot there, why am I not, you know, up for it? Consider me for this and look at what I can do. And I mean, where did he qualify? I think he qualified sprint grid. He qualified 9th ahead of Perez and ahead of Lawson. But it just seems that Horner's just not interested at all in Yuki Tsunoda and ever promoting him. I don't think we'll ever actually see Yuki Tsunoda in a Red Bull seat. Like, I genuinely don't think he'll ever drive for that team. I just don't think they care enough to put him in. And whenever they talk about, like when they were talking about the whole Daniel Ricciardo situation, Horner was saying, you know, we've got great young talent in Liam Lawson. We've got young guys. There's a guy in F3. I can't remember what his name is. There's a guy in F3. We've got Isaac Hadjar in F2. And all of these people seem to be, their names get floated around for this position that could be available. And Yuki just never is. Yuki's name is never mentioned. And he's so dedicated, it seems, to the team. He's been with the team for so long, and he seems so dedicated to getting into, his heart's wanting to get into that team. And I just don't think they're going to give him a look in. I just don't think. I don't see Yuki ever actually driving for Red Bull. I think if he's going to drive for a top team, he's going to have to move to a different team, to be quite honest with you. And it's a shame because he's giving a lot of himself to that team, and it's just getting nowhere with it, to be honest with you. The last bit kind of to talk about really is Lando Norris and the Carlos Sainz of it all towards the very end of the Grand Prix. So Sainz and Leclerc were just kind of gaining on him. I actually thought that Leclerc might be able to get the jump made on Sainz. It seemed that Leclerc had really managed his tyres a lot better than what Sainz had. I think maybe in the battle of Sainz trying to get ahead of Leclerc, he'd maybe just taken a little bit too much out of his tyres. And I thought maybe Leclerc might be able to get the jump on him towards the end. Didn't. Norris, however, just couldn't hang on to the back of Verstappen. The Ferraris came right up behind him, and coming into turn one, under a bit of pressure from Carlos Sainz, he had a huge lockup and just let Sainz through. And it's those silly mistakes that are going to cost him. He then had another lockup going into turn 12, nearly lost position to Leclerc, allowed Leclerc to get right up behind him, and has actually been noted for driving erratically at turn 15, I believe it is. Leclerc has said that he was moving under the braking. It seemed that Leclerc was just going to go and get the move done. Norris cut him off in the braking zone. As I said, he's been noted for driving erratically. There isn't, at the time of recording, there isn't a decision on that. If there is, it's with the stewards, it's being investigated. I'm just checking, nothing's come through yet. I don't know whether that would be a time penalty or whether that would be a grid penalty for the Grand Prix that they're qualifying in a couple of hours, 2 and a bit hours. I don't know. So I imagine by the time the qualifying session for the Grand Prix comes round, as I said, in a couple of hours, we'll have something on that. But just be aware that there is an investigation on Norris happening right now for driving erratically. And when you were looking at the onboard from Leclerc to Norris, he does just swoop in to defend the position. And I could see why it could be deemed driving erratically. Obviously, both the drivers will be summoned to the stewards to talk it through. Leclerc is adamant that he making moves defending under the braking. So we will see what happens there. It did, however, cause a very near miss between Leclerc and Norris. Like, both of those drivers could have been completely out of the race. And I can understand if he is driving erratically, I can understand why Norris is doing it because the championship is so close. And I think they said that he has to average out like an 8 point. He basically needs to get nearly 9 points every weekend ahead of Verstappen to be able to win. He's obviously not gotten that. He lost out on second to Sainz as well. In, as I said, just quite a silly mistake. So this is where I believe that when we spoke about it mid-season, when we did our sort of mid-season predictions, and I had said Verstappen is going to win this championship, not because he's got the most dominant car, not because of any of those reasons that, you know, he sort of won in 2023, because Norris just can't bring the actual fight to him. And we have seen some dominant sessions from him, but I think there's too often maybe things happen with Norris during races that are going to cost him the championship. I think he's lost the championship. It is Max Verstappen's championship now. I'm calling it on Saturday the 19th of October at 12 minutes past 8 in the evening, UK time. I am saying Max Verstappen is winning the 2024 World Drivers' Championship. I think McLaren will retain the constructors, but Verstappen will win the drivers. I think it's a 54-point gap now. In my predictions, I had a Lando Grand Slam. That's already gone. Do I think he will qualify on pole now? Not particularly. No, I don't think Lando's looking at a pole position in the qualifying later on. Who do I think is going to get pole? I'm going to say it's between Verstappen or one of the two Mercedes drivers. Verstappen or Russell, I think it's between. I would maybe put the Ferrari in, but I think they're actually looking better on their race pace this weekend than they are their quali pace. As soon as they sort of put the soft tyre on, the car doesn't perform as well as it does with the sort of medium. So I'm going to say it's a Verstappen or Russell pole position coming up, which is funny because I'm probably going to clip this for social, and it's going to have my post that says, yep, I think Lando's going to get a pole position for the Grand Prix, and then this reel's going to be like, well, actually, I think it's going to be Verstappen. Is there anything else to chat about? Let's look at the finishing quickly. Obviously, mighty work from Verstappen to get the win. This is his first win since Austria, the sprint race in Austria. So great for him to be back on top. As I said, great performance from the Ferrari drivers. Bit of a poor performance from Lando. I'd say don't count the Mercedes boys out. They are looking mega quick this weekend. I think they just need to sort out their tyre management. Well, Russell does anyway. Not too sure. As I said, Hamilton just never really got in it. Fantastic result from the Haas boys. Double points coming in. 7th Magnussen, 8th Hulkenberg. Not quite sure what happened to Hulkenberg. I think just in that turn 1 he lost a lot of positions. But great result, getting 3 points in the Constructors' Championship, which both RBs got none. And in the fight for the Constructors' Championship, Haas is sitting 6th, RB sitting 7th. They're equal on points, and this will only just help Haas. So what a year Haas is having, I will say. Absolutely brilliant. And anyone else to talk about? Colapinto coming home 12th. Not a bad result at all. Fantastic for him to get into SQ3 again. He's just making moves. I think he's brilliant, and it's great to see him not chilling down the back of the grid. As I said, fantastic result from Piastri to get 10th, to make his way to 10th from, I think, what was he, 16th? I think he was 16th. Yeah, 16th to get to 10th. Absolutely brilliant. So well done to Oscar Piastri. And that is everything from quite a thrilling sprint race. Very excited. We have qualifying in just over 2 hours now for the Grand Prix tomorrow. I'm calling it a Verstappen pole. I'm going to actually just say it's a Verstappen pole. That man, the qualifying lap he did for sprint pole, he wasn't the fastest car on the track. He wasn't. But it was just one of those brilliant laps that Verstappen can put together that absolutely just was brilliant. Just brilliant. So I'm going to say Verstappen on pole. I think lining up P2. I'm going to say one of the Mercedes boys. I'm not going to say who, but I'm going to say one of the Mercedes boys. I think Lando might get a little bit in his head again after gaining those positions and then losing them at the end. It's quite a shame. But that is everything from us. We will be back tomorrow morning for our qualifying recap ahead of the Grand Prix. Just because by the UK time, by the time it's finished, it's like 11:30. I'm exhausted. So we will be back tomorrow morning. I will see you then. Enjoy the qualifying session and enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Love you. Bye.